Let's get more now on the terror threat from the crisis in Iraq. Officials estimate that the ISIS militants have about 2,000 fighters with Western passports. They can enter the U.S. without a visa. And in my exclusive interview with President Obama, he conceded that the threat they pose is growing.
You know, I think we have been under serious threat my entire presidency, and we have been under serious threat predating 9/11 from those who embrace this ideology.
But they're gaining strength, aren't they?
Well, they're gaining strength in some places. We've seen Europeans who are sympathetic to their cause traveling into Syria and now may travel into Iraq, getting battle-hardened. Then they come back. They've got European passports. They don't need a visa to get into the United States. Now, we're spending a lot of time, and we have been for years, making sure that we are improving intelligence so that we can respond to that. We got to improve our surveillance, reconnaissance, intelligence there. Special forces are going to have a role, and there are going to be times where we take strikes against organizations that could do us harm.
Let's get more on this now from Congressman Peter King from the House Committee on Homeland Security. ABC's Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz just back from Iraq. Welcome back. And Congressman King, let me begin with you. You saw the president right there, conceded that the threat is growing. What is the biggest danger right now?
The president shouldn't just be conceding it. This is a real threat. There's nothing to concede. He should be very aggressive on this. Syria is our biggest threat right now because not only are there thousands of Europeans who have visas sent to the United States going to Syria, there's also at least 100 plus Americans who are over there in Syria right now. So any of these people can go back to the United States and they can carry out the type of attack that they're being trained in Syria. And the terrorists in Syria are extremely sophisticated, very advanced, and so thousands of people can go back to Europe and come here. To have over 100 Americans who could come back here, all we have to do is miss one or two of them, and we could have a very lethal attack here in the U.S.
And we saw that American a couple of weeks back carry off a suicide bombing in Syria. Right. Pierre also talked about U.S. officials considering asking overseas airports to enhance security. What's going on with that?
I can't go into all the details, but that is very important to do because a number of airports do not have the type of security they should have. But basically, we're saying anyone that will be having someone who can fly to the U.S., they have to increase their security. We're going to be pushing it. Again, I can't go into all the details, but overseas airport security is a real concern we've had in the U.S.
So it is something we're keeping a real eye on right now.
Yes, we are, and we shouldn't be denying it. We shouldn't be just conceding it. We should be very aggressive so the American people know how real this threat is.
And Martha, so much support now coming in for the Iraqi military. The Iranians are helping them. The Syrians are also launching airstrikes. We saw this morning Russian fighters going in as well. And of course,
Russian fighter jets going in.
And of course, we know those U.S. advisors are now on the ground. What difference are they making?
Well, I think, first of all, they have to assess what's going on. I think a bigger help right now is the intelligence, is the drones that are flying, or is the surveillance aircraft that's flying, because they're giving the Iraqis a sense of where things are happening in Tikrit, where the Iraqi military is trying to move in and root out ISIS and has had some success, although this morning it's really back and forth who's in control of that city now. The advisors, once they establish what's going on and how they can help, will really go outside of the embassy, and that's where they can really start helping and start telling the Iraqi military, start helping them more with command and control and morale. That's the amazing thing that they saw there, as an absolute collapse of the morale in the Iraqi security forces. Soldiers running away. And once they started running away, then there was a tidal wave of morale collapse.
You know, when I talked to the president earlier this week, he wouldn't say that he was ready to order airstrikes right now. What does he need to hear from those advisors on the ground and from the Iraqi government before he acts?
Well, from the Iraqi government, he has to have a sense that they're not just going after Sunnis, that they're not just going after the minority Sunnis. And the other thing they have to hear is that the Iraqis are being careful, that they too are not ordering airstrikes just on their enemies. I think there's a series now of things that have to happen before the United States is involved in airstrikes, and I don't think they're quite close to that. Obviously, if the Americans were threatened, if the embassy were threatened and they could do something about it, they would probably take action. Or if there was a very easy target, perhaps out in the desert, they would take action. But any kind of massive airstrikes, I just don't think you're going to see it.
Yeah, I think the U.S. is concerned about the embassy, about the airport, so I think the U.S. will take whatever security measures are necessary, even if additional ones are necessary, to protect the Americans who are there, to protect our assets that are there. And I think the president, on that, he can count on support, I believe, certainly from Republicans in Congress, to do whatever is necessary to protect Americans.
Does the president have all the authority he needs from Congress right now to act?
You know, they may ask for additional powers. I'm not someone who's totally addicted to the War Powers Act, but I think the president, to play it safe, I think any additional assets or troops that he sends or any forces at all, I think he will go to Congress.
Okay, Peter King, Martha Raddatz, thanks very much.